Oscar Bevis, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Mark Neilson. How you been, mate?
Yeah, very good. I was just looking the other day. It was September, I think I spoke to you last. Hasn't that flown by?
I was going to say, I was looking, thinking November-ish time, because obviously you put a couple of shows on then, but it was before your first show back in September. Literally, we're just going to talk today about the small hall stuff you're doing, wrap up a little bit about last year and talk about the year coming up. But yeah, I've just said to you, it's kind of nice that we're getting into February now, because January was a little bit boring, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, nothing on, nothing to watch. It's a bit of a funny month. I mean, January is always a quiet month anyway. But with the British Boxing Board just putting a stop on it all completely, I thought, what we're going to watch now on Saturday? You know, I mean, and there was a couple of small hall shows booked, but obviously Eubank Williams fell inside the deadline within a couple of days, so that got canned. But yeah, quiet month.
It's kind of like deja vu, because I think, was it this time last year was the same, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think I'm starting about you. I'm starting to lose track of lockdowns and circuit breaks and whatnot now. You know,
Yeah, it feels like it's been going on for about 5 years, not 2 years.
Yeah, I'm done now. Let's just get back to a full schedule of boxing. I'm done with this COVID stuff affecting my favourite sport. Let's just get back to it.
Mate, you and me both. You said about us last speaking in September. You managed to get 3 shows out last year. That was your first one, like I said, in September. A tough year, but nice to get some stuff out in the Southwest after sort of the first 6 months being completely blank.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we had managed to get a couple of Swindon shows in. I mean, some of these lads hadn't been out for a couple of years, you know, some 18 months, some of them 2 years. So it's good to get them back out, a couple of debuts, get them going again. And we managed to stick one in Bracknell as well. So hard though, you know, because even though the promoters are all back, the managers are all back, all of the boxers weren't back. You know, I think there's some, mental amount of shows. I think November there was 50 plus shows, which was like a record for a single month. And, you know, with all the 50-50s and then the rest of the card with some of the away opponents, there's not enough opponents to feed that many fights. So matching it was an opponent. So the costs went up through the roof. And it was just busy times, really stressful for all promoters. I think when December came, we thought, great, I need a little bit of a break now. Let's get back on for next year.
Yeah, let's talk about 2022. You've put together a pretty hefty schedule already, and you're branching out from the Swindon shows and the Bracknell shows as well. So there is progression in the Neilson boxing scene.
Yeah, well, we want to just keep expanding and keep growing and just keep building. We had 3 shows the end of last year. We've already got 10 scheduled for this year. We may even be able to slide another couple of shows in. I mean, we were predominantly Swindon based back in the day. Then we've done Gloucester, we've done Bracknell. Now we're moving over. We've got a couple of York Hall dates booked in April. Maybe able to put another couple of those in later in the year. As the company, the business is growing, the contacts are growing, our stable is growing, and because we put on really good shows, in fairness, from the feedback we get, a lot of boxers want to work with us. They want to go on our shows, So we're adding to the team. It's growing quite nicely. We don't want to run before we can walk, but we've got 10 good shows, spread nicely over the year. So I mean, if you think January, February, not a lot goes on. July and August, not a lot goes on. December, not a lot goes on. That's 5 months already written off. So that's a busy few months in the remainder, isn't it?
Yeah. And these London shows that you talk about, I saw on the fight poster there, I don't know if it's co-promoted or there's an involvement with Warren Boxing Management and Freddie and Alfie Warren. Yeah,
that's right. We're working with Freddie and Alfie. They've got a massive stable of boxers. I think they've got about 40 boxers. Most of them are prospects, the A side, not the journeyman, if you like. So they've got a really good bunch of boxers. Plus, we're working with like John Edwards and Mo Pryor. We work with all of them. So that enables us to put a really good card together. York Hall, you've got a limit of 10 fights at the moment, although they do say that they're going to probably extend it to 12 because they're doing some stuff behind the scenes in there. So we're able to put some really good shows. I mean, one of them in 1st of April, we've just confirmed only this morning, actually, the main event. Dean Dodge, Dennis were home for the Southern Area title. So it's a great main event. So we're stacking this card out. There's times when you put like a development card on where you're going to have all the A side, a fighting journeyman on the B side, the away corner, and that's sometimes necessary because some of these guys who haven't been out for a while and they need to get back in. But these ones in York Hall, they've had their development shows now, and now we're back out and put the whole card, apart from a couple of debuts down the bottom, on both the April shows, proper good 50-50s. So really cracking events.
Yeah, I went to a lot of the shows at York Hall last year that Warren Boxing Management done, and I remember towards the back end of the year, I think in like October or something, we had Dan Morley and Louis Isaacs, which was one of the best small hall fights I've seen. Like,
Yeah,
I think it come fifth in like Boxing News' domestic fight of the year list. You look at fights like that. How important is it to get those sort of fights, not just for the fighters and their development? I know, winner and loser in that fight are both going to go on and learn from that, but for
yeah,
the people watching as well who go, because I remember everyone in there was like, they must have been thinking, you know what, I need to come back if I'm going
yeah.
to see fights like that.
Yeah, well, the model for small hall boxing is predominantly done by by ticket sales. So we run quite a tight financial model where, we're business people, we know how it works. And I mean, normally 90% of the ticket sales in any one show is sold by the home boxer, or the 50-50 is the home and away boxers. What we want to do is move that 90% down to 80%, down to 70%. So you've got more people, the more casual fans wanting to come to a show on a Saturday night because they know they're going to get a really good night of boxing. You're only going to be able to do that if you have those sort of Isaac Morley type fights, more of them. So when we were setting out our dates this year and looking at lineups, so we don't want to just stick ticket sellers in the home corner and just fill the place up. We want to put good 50-50s. So they might go and buy a ticket off Dean Dodge to watch him in his title fight, but they want to think, damn, that's a good night. When's the next one? Even if Dean isn't fighting, I'm coming back again. So we need to bring more of the sort of the casual fans into the small scene, because we don't have the luxury of TV money. So we got to fill them up, and you're going to fill them up by gathering some ticket sellers in there, but also put on really good cards. So you're going to get the casual fans in as well.
Yeah. I remember, you talk about TV money and people being able to see these fights if they're not there in person. I think this is something we spoke about before. Potentially getting some of these fights to be broadcasted, maybe be streamed via YouTube or via something else. You saw what Fight Zone were doing for a little bit last year.
Yeah.
Would there be a way you can try and put some of these on some sort of platform? So, if you've got a fighter from up north that people want to see and they're not there, people can tune in, a little bit of Friday night boxing, that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's always been this discussion in small. If you stream it, will the people not buy a ticket? Will a few of the lads just stay in on a Saturday night and pay a 5 or 10 or whatever the figure may be, and then not come through the door and affect your ticket sales? But we're actually thinking probably longer term, the bigger picture. We want to build a product, and we're starting to film all of ours. We don't necessarily know how we're going to stream it, if we're going to stream it, but from the end of March show, we're going to film all of our shows and get ourselves ready, I think. So by the time we get to the end of the year, we've put 10 to 12 shows on. We've got a bigger stable of boxers. We're working with more managers, other promoters, and we've got a product that a platform will want to pick up. Either we do it ourselves, or we go, look what happened with the Matchroom and the Sky and our Boxer and Wasserman. There's a lot of new names in the mix at the moment, and the Zone didn't exist over a few years ago. Who knows what that's going to be like in the next 12, 24 months? So we need to be ready for that.
Yeah. And just talking about sort of the progression of your company as well, I know you've added a gym sort of as a base for some of your fighters. So if they want to train, they can sort of all train together out of a base, kind of like a little hub for your company, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got in Swindon, we've sort of bought into an established boxing gym in the area. It's one of the main ones, Alpha Boxing and Fitness. A couple of our guys already train there, and we've got a couple of trainers we work with are already there. So now when we're turning guys over, we've got a base for them. So it makes sense for us. We've got offices there. My team's growing as well. So they're based there. It just makes sense to add it to the arsenal, really.
Yeah. And I'm just going to sort of give you the floor here. I won't ask you specifically, what sort of stories have you got potentially coming up this year, or people you're looking to progress to the most exciting things out of your stable? Sort of what are like the big things that could happen this year for some of your fighters?
Well, we're looking at, there's we've got a lot of like 4, 5, 6 and 0 boxers at the moment who are ready for the next step. Some of them sort of fought last year, sort of blew the cobwebs out after the break. Some of them are back out in March, blowing the cobwebs out. But when we start looking at the April shows and onwards, we're starting to look at eliminators for international titles. We're looking at Southern area titles, eliminators for English titles, and moving on perhaps the back half of the year, actually looking at some English titles as well. So we've, what we always do is we sit with our boxers at the beginning of the year and plot it out. He's finished the year, made his debut in November. He's 1-0. Right, by the end of this year, we're going to be 5-0. That means this time next year, we can start looking at an eliminator or an area title. So we do that with all the fighters that we work with. So the back half of the year, sort of September onwards, It's going to be a busy time and lots of titles. You know, like I said, we want those 50-50s. And when you go to like area level and above, they're all good fights because, you know, to be eligible, they've got to be decent. So, you know, that's the plan. Like I said, to get these casual fans through the door, we've got to put good nights of boxing on.
Yeah. And just in terms of quite a broad question, I suppose, if you could pick something for the year ahead that you want to achieve with Neilson Boxing, just one thing. I know it's quite a broad question, but
It's right. Well, listen, if I can get to the end of the year having a dozen cracking shows with cracking tickets and all my guys under development have come through it unscathed, great. I mean, I'm looking for moving into 2023, having some sort of broadcast platform for all of these guys. So I want to get to sort of like December, look back and think, tick, yeah, we're ready, let's go. So, you know, as I said, we're starting to film, we've got a bigger stable of boxers, we're working with other managers and other promoters. It's going to be a bloody busy year for us.
yeah. Good. Can't wait for it. Like I said, just a little roundup of sort of what we can expect from this year in your stable and whatnot. I do have to talk about the big news. I remember last time we spoke about it was Jake Paul was the big news, wasn't he? But we're not going to talk about Jake Paul today. We're going to leave Jake Paul. Just from sort of, it's interesting to get a view from someone who's on your side of things because I've asked countless boxers and trainers about this. We've seen it resolve now. Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte will fight each other. Just a few questions from the Fury, Joshua, Whyte and Usyk sort of foursome that we saw. What situation did you want to see, Mark? Did you want to see Joshua in the rematch, Tyson and Dillian together? Did you want to see Fury, Usyk? I just want to know what sort of situation, before it was all sort of sorted, what did you want to see?
Well, you know, we all want to see it unified. I sort of feel for AJ a little bit, you know, because he had all the titles and then Wilder wouldn't fight him and he goes and Fury wouldn't fight him. Then he goes and fights the same guy 3 times. So frustrating. Then he loses a title. It's a mess, isn't it? It's a bit of a mess. I would love to see that, you know, the titles unified this year. Whether that will happen, you know, who knows? Obviously, the, you know, Fury Whyte's now been sorted, although Dillian Whyte's quite quiet. Nobody's heard from him since it's been announced. So you just hope, you hope that's going to go ahead. And I'd probably see Fury coming through winning that. So you'd think now that should be a Usyk/AJ versus Fury. You'd like to think that I like AJ. You know, he's got his critics and that, but I'm a Brit. He's a Brit. He's been brilliant for boxing. And I'd love for him to see a new AJ come and take it off Usyk. Maybe not, but I'd like to see that hopefully happening. You know, so ultimately you've got an AJ Fury super fight over here. You know, that's what I'd like to see. For the next couple of months, oh my God, it's just too. That's the trouble when you've got different TV contracts. You know, Fury says everything, but I don't know if he really wanted to fight AJ. You know, he could have, you know, being 1 minute you sort of criticise him for not taking a step aside money, but then when they were trying to do a step aside so he didn't fight Wilder, so he could fight the unification, it's all just a bit politics, isn't it? Interesting to watch. For the armchair fan, they must think it's bonkers what's going on with boxing. And for us, it's just frustrating because we want to see the big fights. But, you know, I think Fury White would be a big fight. It'll be interesting to see what happens then. But, you know, probably edge Fury. I can't see Dillian getting to him.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the people who don't understand boxing are probably looking at it like, why don't they just get in and fight? But yeah. I said this to Tony Sims the other day, actually, when you've got people who only fight twice a year, that leaves you 10 months of the year to talk about fights, I suppose, because these people, like Fury doesn't fight 4 times a year, does he? So
yeah. I mean, crazy. I mean, like I say, for the armchair fan, they must be thinking, just why don't you fight each other? Like you said, but yeah, it's a bit more complicated than that. And obviously with social media, they can just keep putting their opinion on every day. Like Fury's just put stuff on this morning and yesterday. It's just entertaining to watch. But, you know, let's just get the fights on, eh?
What would you have advised AJ to do? Because there was sort of, we don't know about the training team situation. We kind of have to just theoretically say he might get a few new people involved. It was sort of, do you let Fury fight Usyk and perhaps have an interim fight and work on things to fight the winner? Because it was kind of a guarantee that he would fight the winner. Or do you jump straight back in? Because I know people were saying if he doesn't, he's a coward. Like, if you were advising AJ in that situation, what would you do? Stick him in the rematch?
It depends on that, you know, it depends on the motivation of the people around him. If they, you know, I think to a certain extent that the people who are looking after Fury, you know, they want to keep him as a champion as long as they possibly can over in America, don't they? You know, they want to keep control of the championship as long as they can. If you're advising AJ, he's a winner. I just want to win at all costs. You know, I want to be the champion. I want a bit legacy, undisputed. Well, if that's the case, change its training setup. I mean, and that's quite contentious. Everyone's got their view. But I was there at the last fight. And I'm thinking there was no plan B halfway through. And even if he came in with the wrong game plan, you change it after 5 and 6 when you know it's not working and it's not likely to work, right? But he just carried on. So I think that corner, and you may be able to bring a new coach in who does a bit of technical this, a bit of technical. You need to change the whole setup. I'd probably start again, move to America, start a whole new, training setup, but go for a Usyk rematch and go for the win. Go all in. If you want it, you want to be regarded as the best and legacy, put your money where your mouth is and go in. Forget step aside money. You don't need the money. Go for the win. New team, start again. I mean, if he was to do that and then came out with a win, what are people going to say then? Mate, he's the best, isn't he? You can't, is he? Then people were like, whatever people say about him ducking this and ducking that. He just wants to build a legacy. That's what he wants. But if it's just for money, take the step aside, wait, fight the winner off, but it depends. And I get the impression he's a winner and he wants to win. He wants to build a legacy. In his mind, you can tell by interviewing, that's what he believes. What people think is irrelevant. He believes he's the best, can be the best, and will go down as the best. Well, if that's what he really wants, I'd probably change the whole setup completely, start afresh and go back in. You need a different AJ in that fight. You remember AJ in his first 10 fights, 12 fights?
Blitzing people.
Blitzing people like Skittles, wasn't he? He was just dominant. He seems a little bit punch shy now, doesn't he? As in on the receiving end, he's a bit too cautious. So he had a reach advantage, height advantage, strength advantage. Didn't really use any of them. He should have been in there, leaning on him, sticking the elbows in, doing all the, just bullying him. But he stood off and boxed a boxer. But that's what advice he was doing. That's his strategy. I don't know. I'd rip it up and start again. That's just me. What I know, eh?
All I know from it is that 15 million step aside money sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? They
can just back that off, can't they? Yeah, that's only for now. I don't need that. Yeah, a lot of money is not needed, isn't it?
Give me 1,500 step aside and I'll stop doing this. Mark, cheers, mate. Just quickly, them shorts behind you, they weren't there when I interviewed you last. Can you just quickly talk me through? Can I see Ali in the bottom left?
Yeah, that's my Ali. So I get a lot of memorabilia because we do sort of charity auctions at all our shows. So now and again, a nice little piece turns up, which is a bit of a keeper. So I managed to come into possession of, some signed Muhammad Ali shorts. And they were definitely keepers. So, I mean, I was in a different room, I think, when I saw you last time. So, yeah, these ones I've picked up, they're worth a few quid, but I didn't have to pay a few quid for them. Got the certificate and and everything, so I know what they are. But they're one of those from I'll keep them back. Love a bit, we all see everyone's got their domed gloves in their man bars or whatever they've got in all their houses. But there's certain stuff. I'm in the game, I've got to have the good stuff. I mean, I've got another one actually at the office, a Canelo signed glove and with a great big, I thought I'll keep that one to the side because he's going to go down as one of the greats. So I think that'd be a keeper as well.
Puts my Andre Ward glove to shame. Muhammad Ali shorts, mate. Brilliant. Mark, thank you very much. Like I said, good to speak to you again. And the shows in London especially, and hopefully a few the South shows I'll try and get to as well this year. A lot of shows in that. And just good luck for putting everything together. And that I know it's a pain, as you say sometimes, but cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate. Always good speaking to you. Thanks, mate.